This video is sponsored by Opera GX. Harrow is every Warframe player's dream. He offers you pretty much everything you could ask for: survivability, crowd control, fire rate, reload speed boost, insane energy sustain, and pure red crits when built correctly. Of course, he comes with some problems and drawbacks, but I'll be honest with Harrow, there aren't really that much problems with him. When you begin to understand his kit, you will very soon realize how synergistic this frame is and how easy he is to play. Harrow is the second frame of the project series I have started, and we have 10 Harrow builds to talk about. Some of them very similar, some of them vastly different. But first, I have something to tell you. You know, other browsers are actually quite boring. They look and sound pretty much identical, lacking the flair or the pizzazz that sets them apart. But Opera GX is something different. With the latest Opera GX facelift, this browser is more customizable than ever. Let me introduce to you the power of GX mods. Head on over to the mods tab on your browser and you can completely customize your browser with themes, sounds, and amazing visuals. You can completely mix and match multiple mods and components to curate your own experience tailored exactly to what you want. You can get wallpapers, animated ones, still ones, background music, keyboard sounds, opening and closing sounds, splash screens when you open up your browser, UI fonts, and so much more. Let's take the Elden Ring one as an example. I mean, this just looks amazing and just sounds amazing. Tired of the ads? I mean, aren't we all? Opera GX has an inbuilt ad blocker, leaving you with no distractions and enjoying your perusing on the interwebs without interruptions. Also, Opera GX has a video pop-out feature. Let's say you are watching your series or something like that, but you want to do something else. You can separate videos from the browser into a floating adjustable video frame, allowing you to do multiple things at once, which is nice. Opera GX is equipped with a quick import tool that allows you to quickly import all your settings from your previous browsers to Opera GX. Everything from browsing history, bookmarks, cookies, and so on. It's also compatible with every Google Chrome extension. So, what are you waiting for, my lovely tenor? Click the link in the description and download Opera GX today to become a better internet dweller. A huge thank you to Opera GX for sponsoring this video. The problem here is Harrow is incredibly versatile, but also his abilities synergize so well together that it literally feels like a sin to Helminth something off of him. But it does work, and it is very possible. One of the amazing things about Harrow is the fact that his shields are doubled, meaning he can have a maximum of 2,400 overshields. And you will spawn into your missions with 100% energy filled, so it's basically a preparation mod. This means, for example, if you put Prime Redirection on and you build for overshield, you can get 4,472 shields without any shards, which is quite a lot of shields for everyday content, let's be fair. Harrow's first ability is Condemn. Cast out a wave that chains enemies where they stand. Each enemy hit will replenish your shields by 150 at base. This is affected by ability strength. However, you cannot replenish your shields again from an enemy that has already been hit. Enemies hit by this wave will be immobilized for 6 seconds at base. That is also affected by ability duration. When this duration runs out, you can then replenish your shields again. This ability is amazing for 4 things: crowd controlling enemies, keeping you alive, stopping acolytes in their tracks, building up your shields for your second ability, as you can use Condemn to leverage the cost of your second, which we'll go over why in a moment. However, it does not affect enemies affected by Overguard, which does become a huge issue in endurance missions at higher levels. Tribunal is Condemn's augment. Other players will trigger 100% of the effects of Penance, his second, and Thurible, his third, when attacking chained enemies. You will need to have Penance and Thurible active for this augment to work for your allies. We will go over these abilities now, but this augment is literally just a support augment to help you out with your teammates if you want to go that route. Penance is Harrow's second ability. Whip yourself to sacrifice your shield to boost your reload and fire rate, while also converting your damage dealt to enemies into health for you and nearby allies. This will remove all of your shields, and based on how many shields you have will determine the duration of this ability. But you can keep recasting it when you replenish your shields again to increase your duration up to a maximum of 120 seconds, which is very long because it has a 2-minute duration, which is insane, and it can be replenished. But that depends on how you want to micromanage it, if there is enough enemy density in front of you, because if you're playing it in a group and you can't regen your shields from Condemn, it's a lot harder to just hardcore spam Penance the whole time. This is why we also can go for redirection on our build to increase our maximum shields, allowing Penance to build up to 120 seconds a lot easier. The fire rate and reload boost is affected by ability strength. While Penance is active, 5% of any damage dealt by Harrow to enemies converts into health for yourself and your allies within affinity range. This does mean you can use Archon Intensify with Harrow. Your affinity range can be increased by using Phosphor and Vazarin's Mending Unity if you wanted to increase the distance of your affinity range. The amount of shields that will be drained is taken from when the ability is activated. So if you cast Condemn and quickly cast Penance straight after, the shields you gain from Condemn while still in animation of Penance will not be drained. So you can use this at your own discretion to keep you alive more. Harrow can also heal defense objects with Penance by 50 health per second. Now this ability is one that can technically get you killed because you sacrifice all of your shields, leaving you a little defenseless. This is why you need to cast Condemn before or after you cast Penance to quickly regain those shields that you lose. Oh, and by the way, the fire rate bonus also affects melee weapons. Thurible is Harrow's third. This is the hot debate ability right here. Basically swing your Thurible to generate a buff. But this is a channeled ability that locks you into an animation. When you channel it, you will see a number start counting up and it will begin to drain your energy. You can let it drain your energy entirely, or you can get to a number to your liking and cast it again to cancel it at that amount. When you are done channeling, every enemy you specifically as Harrow kill will regain your energy for that amount that you stopped at. So let's say you stopped at 30 energy. That means every enemy will give you 30 energy per kill. But headshot kills will multiply that value by 4 times, meaning that 30 energy would get you 120 energy instead. So this ability is just pure energy sustain. You will see the lines of energy regen when you begin to kill enemies. It's incredibly satisfying. So here is the thing about this ability. Many people don't really like it, and in the beginning I tended to agree with people that didn't like it, but after playing him a lot more, I've learned that you don't need to drain your energy entirely. You can just get to 30 to 40 energy per cast and you are chilling with the amount of energy you gain from this ability. You don't need to drain your 600 energy pool and try and regain 100 plus energy per kill. It is overkill. It's not needed. Cast speed increases the speed at which the energy is drained, allowing this ability to feel a lot better. This is very important for Harrow if you want to keep his third. You can still move while channeling, so there's that at least, but you want to have cast speed to build up that number very quickly. The aura radius of Thurible is increased by ability range and the duration is affected by ability duration. However, for the few of you that still do not like Thurible at all, I do have some builds in this video to replace Thurible that will still offer you the same energy sustain. So stay tuned for that. Warding Thurible is the augment. Allies in range take 50% less damage while channeling Thurible and grant 1 additional energy charge whenever damaged. This is also a support augment that offers damage reduction up to 90% with enough strength, which also applies to yourself. So it is an extra 90% damage reduction for you, which is very good. It's never a bad thing, and additional energy gained. This augment is purely up to you if you would like to have that extra buff for you and your allies. It's not a must-have. Covenant is Harrow's fourth, which is probably his bread and butter, I would say. Protect nearby allies with an energy force that will allow you to go invulnerable and absorb all incoming damage. You will convert all of the absorbed damage into a crit chance bonus for all of those under Covenant. Headshots are multiplied even further. This buff is called Retaliation. You will be completely immune to all damage and status effects for 6 seconds when casting Covenant. During this invulnerability phase, you will begin to absorb damage. You will gain 5% crit at base and an extra 1.5% per 100 damage points you have prevented, capping at 50% for the body shots and a 200% bonus against headshot hits. But this crit bonus is a flat addition applied after your mods, and this buff also affects your allies. Once you have casted it, it cannot be recasted until the retaliation buff timer runs out, which is why many people sometimes opt for a low duration Harrow. Covenant has a 3-second casting animation, which is quite long, which is why I recommend running casting speed to reduce the animation. Covenant's augment is called Lasting Covenant. This is a very nice augment if you are not opting to use Harrow's 4th as a method to keep yourself alive. Headshot kills increase your crit bonus duration by 3 seconds, i.e. your retaliation buff, after you've casted Covenant. This augment helps you sustain the buff and is really helpful if you want to keep those red crits up permanently. So Harrow's kit is really all about controlling enemies and handing you as the player a huge amount of buffs and your teammates, while giving you red crits on top of that. But all of his abilities tie incredibly well together. Condemn, holding down enemies so you get the red crit headshots with your retaliation buff from Covenant, casting Covenant and quickly casting Penance so you can lose your shields while you're still invulnerable, to then cast Condemn to quickly regain your shields before the invulnerability runs out. These are the sequences to using Harrow. Cast your 3 when you see fit to build your energy sustain, cast your 4th, followed by quickly casting your 2nd to drain your shields, and then cast 1 to build it back up. Now when I was streaming Harrow, someone said something in the chat that began to make quite a bit of sense. Harrow is a support frame who wants to play solo. While I find that partially true, it does depend on how you want to play him, of course, and how you build him. This video will be split into 2 parts. Harrow as a gun buffer and a solo Harrow, and Harrow as a team-wide support. Let's talk about how to build and play Harrow as a team support first, because the solo section will be a little bit longer with the amount of builds that I'll be going over. Because you're focusing on your allies more than yourself, you want to focus on a bit more range for your abilities. However, the range only affects Condemn and Thurible. Penance and Covenant is affected by affinity range. Make use of Tribunal and or Warding Thurible. If you decide to use only one, it really depends on which augment you prefer. I think they are both very good. Tribunal does offer the best of both worlds by providing the reload and fire rate buff while also giving your allies energy sustain. But this will only work well if you as Harrow are hardcore spamming Condemn like crazy. So just keep this in mind if you do land up going for Tribunal, and I would highly recommend running a few casting speed shards for the setup. Then there's the duration debate, which applies to both playstyles of Harrow. The higher duration path in which you build for more duration so that Condemn, Thurible, and Covenant all last longer, but you won't be making use of the invulnerability from Covenant. Also, Lasting Covenant does affect your allies, the bonus from the augment, so from what I understand, this does work. Otherwise, if I am wrong, please let me know in the comments below. Then there is the low duration method, which is focusing on iframes with your Covenant invulnerability mechanic. So you run negative duration to constantly cast Covenant for your nearby allies. Remember, Covenant's range is affected by affinity range. I just want to keep saying that because it might be confusing, which is 50 meters, and that is quite far. But you can increase it with Vazarin's Mending Unity and Phosphor. But however, the low duration route does limit you on Condemn's crowd control, it limits you on Thurible and so on. So the negative duration team support really just focuses on the invulnerability mechanic more than anything. A team support build would look something like this. It's a flexible setup that can focus more on duration with shards, also more strength and so on. You can switch out Aegis for augmented for more strength if you want. And because we don't have flow on, we add shards, or you can just take out Augur Message and put on flow for more energy. For the negative duration build, it would look like this. You can reduce your duration even more if you'd like, but that's up to you. So when it comes to team play, the setups are flexible. It's more built around the augments you go for. Just remember though, you don't need to go high range if you don't want to, as the only 2 abilities that are affected by range are Condemn and Thurible. However, Condemn and Thurible are quite important and very good with range, so yeah, it's just use it at your own discretion. If you could smash that like button, it would really help me out. And also, we have a new Discord server up as well. It's been fully revamped with more tools and everything that will be worked on slowly. Click on the link in the description and you can join the Discord community server. Now let's move on to Harrow as a solo playstyle, which can be used in team play as well. Red crits. Let's talk about that first, shall we? How do Harrow players get those juicy high tier red crits in Warframe? Well, Covenant's retaliation buff gives you a flat crit bonus, 50% for the body and 200% for headshots, which in itself is already a massive bonus to crit, and this is added after your mods on your weapon, so it's pretty big if your weapon already has high crit. But we don't stop there. We make use of Combat Discipline and Arcane Avenger to give us another 45% flat crit chance. Combat Discipline won't be a problem for us since we have Penance that will heal us consistently. Usually if your weapon has moderate crit chance and if you pair the retaliation buff with Arcane Avenger, you can get a semi-comfortable red crits on the body. We can take it one step further by using the Adaza Kavat companion with the Cat's Eye exclusive mod. This grants you 60% increased crit chance for 10 seconds, and we can also make use of Tech Enhance to increase its duration a tad. Of course, you can also mod your weapons for serious crit by using mods like Galvanized Scope and so on, but I do think that's overkill personally. I think it's best to leave the red crits up to Harrow himself. You can also make use of shards if you want to take it even further, and that's pretty much how we get our red crits. It's very easy. We mainly use Arcane Avenger and Combat Discipline, and we can add Lasting Covenant to also increase the duration of these red crits. But how do we build Harrow as a solo playstyle? Well, it's easy. Just no augment or only Lasting Covenant really. That's pretty much it. We don't need to focus on too much range and duration, and we just focus on not dying. That's what I personally found to be the best. As a base no Helminth kit, this is what I would recommend here when it comes to playing Harrow. It's balanced, easy, and overall just works. You can drop your duration or increase it even more. I just don't see the need. My thing is, if you want to make use of Covenant for the invulnerability, then drop Lasting Covenant and Continuity, and then replace those two mods with another stat that you're looking for or what you want. Harrow doesn't have an issue with surviving if you're making use of Arcane Aegis and Adaptation. With a bit of casting speed, since Condemn is very easy to just spam, you will shield gate without a problem. Once you start scaling to higher levels, you may struggle a bit, but nothing you won't be able to handle. I've seen people use Fast Deflection, which absolutely does work if you find that you are still dying with Harrow. This is what the budget version would look for newer players playing Harrow. In terms of his gameplay loop, it's the exact same thing as I mentioned earlier on in the video. The main thing with Harrow is sequencing to set yourself up. Make sure to cast Covenant when enemies are actually hitting you so you build up the damage easier, then follow it up by casting Penance to remove your shields, then immediately cast Condemn to build them up by the time the invulnerability period runs out. And then just rinse and repeat. Of course, casting Thurible whenever you need energy. Now we move on to the Helminth builds. The thing is, I feel Harrow doesn't need to be subsumed with anything. It feels really weird if you do. However, there is a few exceptions. Firstly, I want to get the energy builds out the way. As we know, Thurible is a bit of a weird ability for some. Some people don't like it. I initially didn't, but now I don't mind it at all after a bit of practice. But let's just say you don't want the hassle of being locked into an animation while your energy is being drained. You can either subsume Nourish, Lycart's Hunt, and Citrine's Fractured Blast over Thurible to have infinite energy sustain. It may not work as well as Thurible since Thurible is on kill, but these are alternatives for people who don't like it. Here is the Nourish build, here is the Lycart Hunt build, and here is the Fractured Blast build. Moving on to other Helminth setups, the star of the Helminth builds for Harrow would be the Evade Harrow setup. Here we subsume Evade onto Thurible, we then make use of Arcane Crepuscular for more damage while invisible, and we make use of Arcane Ice Storm. Now, Arcane Ice Storm is currently bugged, and I don't know when they will fix it or if they will fix it. Essentially, Arcane Ice Storm will proc with Condemn even though enemies are not frozen. So you can essentially keep this Arcane up at all times, which is pretty crazy to be fair. I don't know if this is intended from DE, as if they're counting the frozen enemies from Condemn to be frozen, but anyway. Because we don't have energy sustain from Thurible, we can make use of Archon Stretch and equip the Deriga, which does electricity damage, to sort out our energy sustain. If you don't have that, you can just make use of Equilibrium. This is the build right here, but this is very important for the setup to work. In order for it to work as intended, you will need to cast Covenant before you cast Evade. This is so you can get your red crit bonus, then you go invisible so you can get the headshot kill to increase the duration of the retaliation buff and Evade's buff as well. It's an OP setup, but in my opinion, may not be the best in group settings. This is probably the best Harrow Helminth build setup right now, and that covers the Evade setup. A Raw build, which does what you'd expect, helps you with weapons and so on. A Desiccation setup, since Covenant's buff affects companions as well. And then we have the low level nuking setup for ESO. We subsume Thermal Sunder over R1 and just go crazy as everything gets deleted at the speed of light, making him a fantastic ESO nuker. Finally, for the last Helminth build, Harrow's second ability increases your melee attack speed, and we get a crit bonus from Covenant, right? Yeah, it's not enough. We need Rifle Advance. Come on now. For melee players, we need more. For the ultimate melee crit build. This is the setup right here. A super fun option in my opinion. Moving on to Archon Shards, I would recommend at least 2 casting speed, potentially 2 green for armor stripping since that's the only thing Harrow is really missing. Then I would recommend filling up your red shards with duration or strength. For the most part though, Archon Shards are completely flexible to your build, so yeah, but at least 2 casting speed. In terms of good weapon and synergies with Harrow, he is incredibly versatile, and I'm not lying, any weapon works with him because of his second and fourth. His signature weapon, the Scourge, forcing bullets to hit headshots, is amazing. His other signature pistol, the Null Prime, is amazing. Or the dual Toxicist automatically hitting headshots is crazy. I can't really suggest, like a bunch of weapons because they just all work with him, and that is the beauty of Harrow. Harrow is just amazing for any piece of content. He offers you everything you need, and he can do everything you need him to do. So if you haven't played Harrow yet, you won't regret it. Otherwise, a huge shout out to all of our amazing channel members, and a special thank you to Aetinyard, SKX, Joshua, Darwin, Oddity, Ram, Momokia, Fish, Caden, Shakiro, and Tythrax. I will see you all in the next project.